Jobs. I had a discussion this week with a Jewish gentleman. He's a rabbi. His name's David. I like him very much. Very smart guy. And we were discussing the situation with jobs here in Wisconsin, where I'm living now. And he mentioned that Mr. Walker, I believe, and I think he supports Mr. Walker by what I can understand. I'm not going to vote for Mr. Walker. But that's a whole other thing. He was saying that Mr. Walker and some of the politicians were giving tax incentives for companies to come in here and bring jobs. Now, I think that's a very interesting idea, and I hope that happens, and I'm glad that people have a job. I'm in Wisconsin because of a job, because I really couldn't get a job in California. And I think that a man needs a job. I don't know about women. That's kind of a sexist remark. I am a sexist. I think the sexes are different. I think the races are different. And I don't have a problem with that. People are different. But that's a different video. I am just speaking to the jobs issue. And what I want to say about that is I think Mr. Peter Joseph is one of the few thinkers that is discussing this issue, and he's explaining it well. Because the corporation, because of the way a corporation's set up, has no incentive to provide full employment. It's not a part of their mandate. It's not a part of what they do. They have no incentive. And human progress is to create machines to make things as cheap as possible. That, by definition, means less jobs. And the economists out there, they have some type of magical thinking that all you need to do is incentivize people, and they'll create jobs. It doesn't come from magic. And what I'm getting at is this is going to take some kind of thought by our politicians and some kind of thought from the people out here in the public. They need to be aware of this, that there's not some magical job factory, and we need a Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the White House again. We need the Democratic Party at least to start talking about this. I don't really have any hope on the Republican Party talking about this because they're so much up the ass of the Koches and the corporations that I don't see how they can do it. But, I don't get it. I mean, don't you people who run corporations, aren't you people? Don't you have any humanity whatsoever? Don't you see what's happening to our country and to our world? That people don't have jobs, that all these kids are getting out of school with no life? Don't you see some sense of responsibility for it? I mean, if you want, we need to solve this problem. It's a serious problem. Now, I remember about a year ago, I was talking to a gentleman that was running the South Dakota Republican campaign, and he asked me the number one problem. And I said, well, why don't you create an urban agriculture? Why don't you put all these kids to work growing food in urban situations? Why don't you put all these kids to work rebuilding the infrastructure? Why don't they do that? I think we need direct government action. And I don't see any political party doing that. And I think it needs to get done. I know Mr. Peter Joseph has this thing about these 3D machines and all these space age things he's discussing. I don't know. I don't know about him. I think he's a very smart man. He's a